So let's start getting and delving into the concept of vectors and precisely what we can do with them just a little bit more. So as a reminder, vectors are essentially lists of numerical or certain values, and they've been written in two primary ways. You can have what is known as a column vector, right? You can have a column vector, and then you can have what is known as a row vector. And as a friendly reminder, these two are different in the sense that their dimensions are different. Keep in mind, vectors and matrices by extension are essentially designed to be defined in accordance with their arrangements. And so if you change a row vector into a column vector, or if you attempt to rearrange the different elements within the vector itself, that actually changes the definition and what this vector implies. Now, Paul Dirac, and I apologize for mispronouncing his name, actually came up with a notation. He is considered one of the founding members of the quantum computing community, and he came up with this notation, which uses essentially something that looks like this, a line, and let's say you have a vector called A, right? You have something like that. And if you've seen it before, maybe this might seem a little bit familiar. This right here is what is called a ket vector. And a bra vector, on the other hand, right, looks like this in the opposite direction. So let's talk about what this precisely means. So a row vector is essentially a bra vector. So this is called a bra vector, and in this case it's called A, right? And a ket vector is essentially a column vector. So it just tells you the way in which this vector is written. This will become especially useful when we want to write in a certain way when we get into, for instance, vector multiplication at a later time. So with this newfound knowledge, let's consider precisely what we can do with it. And let me write down this as a friendly reminder again. So ket vectors, right, by the name of A is essentially some sort of column vector. And then your bra vectors, right, the other direction are your row vectors. And if you notice, if you kind of splice these two together, you end up with something that looks a bit like the word bracket in a sense. Of course, that is a kind of a stretch, but it is somewhat useful to consider. Now, when describing vectors, if you've ever encountered them, is in physics a useful way of visualizing vectors with just two items, and we'll be focusing on the ket vector right here with just two items. Of course, you can write them as raw vectors as well. But in this case, focusing on one with two vectors, we can just describe it as something that defines direction and magnitude or velocity of a given object and what it's essentially doing. And so we can say the first item, the first term on here, and let's define it as saying the number of units on the x-axis that you move, the displacement in terms of the x-axis, displacement in x, right? And let's define the second item right here, the 2, as displacement in y. So displacement in y, right, on the y-axis. And keep in mind, this here is the y-axis, and this here is an x-axis in this handy little graph that we have in the bottom corner. And so, with that in mind, let's consider what a ket vector like this might look like on a certain plane. So, because you have displacement of 3, and it's a positive 3, so it goes 1, 2, 3, right here, and you have a displacement of 2, so 1, 2, and if you've been in a graph, or if you've used graphs before, you've probably seen something along the lines of this, right? Apologize, this is once again not the world's best line that we can draw, so hopefully you can tell where we're going with this, right? And so the length in this case will describe the magnitude, and these coordinates essentially right here, will describe your general direction, right? Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's consider what this basically means on a slightly different level. So if we took a given vector and we attempted to shift it around a little bit all throughout the diagram that we have here. So let's say this is your initial point and this here is your terminal point, right? And we move that initial point and that terminal point to say up by 2 and to the right by 3 units, essentially, it would still be exactly the same ket vector, but just shifted, just translated on this general diagram. And so with that in mind, let's begin considering a couple of possibilities. Right, and the first thing that may come to mind when talking about vectors and when talking about numerical values and what you can do with them is the question of addition. So what happens when you add vectors together? And keep in mind, let me just reiterate this really quickly, we're using ket vectors here, but you can use bra vectors in their place as long as the types remain consistent. And so what happens if you add 2 ket vectors together? So let's say you have a vector that has that's described as 3, 2, just using our initial example, and you have another one, and let's call this first one A, right? And you have another one, let's call this B, and we'll say it is of length 1, 1, right? So B, just for illustrative purposes, is essentially and looks a bit like this. Right, it has length of 1 unit to the right and 1 unit up on your diagram. And so when you add them together, when you take it and you do A, and you add A plus the vector B, what ends up happening is you can just add together their general displacements. And by that, I'm referring to the change in the x and also the change in the y. And so what does that look like on a diagram? Well, because keep in mind the change in x for your a and b vectors is 3 and 1 respectively. What you end up having is something that looks along the lines of change over by 1, 2, 3 plus the additional 1 from your b vector, right? So this is your x. And so if we do the same thing and we treat it in the same way with the y, essentially the displacement in y, you have initial displacement of 2 and you add on that 1 displacement of 1 and all of a sudden you are given a new vector that looks a bit like this. So it has initial point and then its termination point essentially is right here, as you can see in the diagram. Now what's interesting about this is if you look at it from a mathematical perspective, the idea of vector A plus vector B is essentially equal to 3 plus 1 as your first item and 2 plus 1 as your second item. So that's the concept of vector addition. That's what vector addition looks like right here. Vector addition. And so the second item that we will be very briefly touching on today is going to be what is known as scalar multiplication. But before we get into that, there's one more thing that we can use to define and explain and just describe vectors overall. And this will help us examine precisely what vector multiplication is. I'm sorry, not vector. It's what scalar multiplication is. And so, let's go back to our initial vector example of vector A is described as 3, 2. And now let's consider what is called the length of this vector, right? And so in terms of length and what we mean by length, let's consider the idea of a triangle. And if you've ever taken, for instance, geometry, you'll probably recognize the Pythagorean Theorem. If you have a triangle with side lengths A and B, and you have side length C, and this is a right triangle right here, then the lengths of A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. And we can actually apply the same concept right here to our 2-item vector. Right, so once again, this is what your vector will look like, initial terminal point, right? And the length, according to this, if we draw it like a right triangle, right, and we look at its displacement, this displacement here has a length of 2, and this displacement here has a length of 3, your x and your y. And so as a result, we can write the length, and it's written this way. You put 2 lines right here. So this is your vector, right? apologize, these are a bit long for a line. There we go. And this describes the length of whatever vector you have, right, is equal to the square root of this item plus this item. So 3 squared plus 2 squared. And this, keep in mind, just comes from the Pythagorean Theorem. If you want to find the length of C down here, all you merely have to do is take the square root of both sides of your equation. And this ends up being the square root of 9 plus 4, which is square root of 13. And so that describes the length of your vector. Now, as a more generic concept, when you have vectors that have more than 2 items, more than merely 2 items, there are a number of things that can be done. First of all, when you want to find the length of that given vector, and here's the generalized idea, and your vector, and let's call it A once again, is equal to some vector, and it has, say, A1, A2, so on and so forth, then its length is going to be equal. Here, let's write that as a slightly separate entity. Then its length, the length of A, length of vector A, is going to be equal to the square root of A first item, and you square that, and you add it on to the values and displacements described in each of your items inside your vector. Right, so on and so forth, and that's equal to your length. And so that's the generalized version of it, and of course the same concept can be applied to a bra vector. So last but not least, let's now take this and consider the concept of essentially scalar multiplication. And we won't get into vector multiplication quite yet. We will touch on that in a later video or class if you would like to stick around. And so scalar multiplication is scalar, essentially. It refers to something that is, for instance, in physics, without direction. So multiplication, scalar multiplication. In this case, a scalar value can just be some sort of constant, like 5, or root 10, or in some cases even root 13. And so when you take scalar multiplication, you're taking whatever constant C and you're multiplying it by your vector. So C times some vector. And so let's consider what that essentially means. So going back once again to our initial example, 3, 2, and let's say we want to multiply it times the value of 5, some scalar value. Keep in mind, I do use 2 different ways of writing multiplication here, but they both refer to C times your vector in this case. Now, 5 times the vector 3, 2 is, or the vector A in this case, can also be equivalent to 5 times 3 and 5 times 2. Now, there are several ways to consider precisely what this is, right? Just writing it out like that. But when looking at a diagram such as the one we have here, one way to kind of think of it is when you multiply it by a scalar value, you're essentially scaling up what you have right here in terms of the vector. You're taking it and you're increasing its size, or you're decreasing its size. So if you multiply it by a factor, and let's change it, if you multiply by a factor of 2 times your vector, and that is equal to what, 3 times 2, and then 2 times 2, because that is your scalar value right here that we're taking into consideration, right, which is equal to 6, 4. And if you notice, 6, right, and 4, so this is your displacement in your x and y, your vector ends up looking like this, which if you look a little bit closely is precisely what we have right here in our initial vector, but just sized up by a factor of 2. And if you look a little bit closer, you'll recognize that the length also appears to have been doubled accordingly. And if you are a little bit skeptical, there are a number of ways to show that when you scale something, you are also multiplying its length by that. What do I mean by length? Well, written out in the full notation, that's like saying the length of some vector multiplied by 2 is equal to the length of 2 multiplied by that vector. Of course, you can show this using the Pythagorean Theorem once again with just general values, but of course, there's another way to do it. If you take the length of your original vector and merely multiply it by 1 over square root of 13, right? And that's what we established earlier, 1 over square root 13 times your length of, in this case, a, right, which is 3, 2. This ideally should be equal to the length of 1 over root 13, 1 over root 13 times your vector. And by extension should be equal to 1, because like we established earlier, the length of this vector that we have right here, it has length root 13, and once you work that out, it does end up being true. And so that's it. That's all we need to know for just scalar multiplication, as well as just understanding the concept of vectors and vectors addition, and also the idea of bras and kets as described by Dirac notation. All right, so that's all for today. Just remember, stay curious and just keep on learning.